Chair recognizes the representative from New Gloucester, Representative Van Wie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I rise today to add my voice to the chorus of legislators speaking in favor of LD 1020. My reasons for supporting this bill include the key points argued persuasively by others: equal protection under the law, separation of church and state, and freedom of religion. I have listened carefully to the viewpoints of my constituents, including many of my friends on both sides of the issue. I have read the Iowa Supreme Court decision, which I found persuasive, and was prepared to face the difficult situation of balancing my personal beliefs with opposing views of my constituents. However, based on emails, calls, and letters, my constituents appear to be fairly evenly split on the issue, leaning in favor of LD 1020. But that's not the basis for my support of this bill. Rather, I wish to speak today to illustrate my decision from a somewhat different perspective, both personal and historical. Madam Speaker, in October of this year, my wife and I will celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary. We were married here in Maine and raised two perfect and brilliant children. Many of you may not know that my lovely wife, Cheryl Bascom, is a black woman. Perhaps I don't need to remind you and my good colleagues that up until 1967, when I was 10 years old, it was illegal for a black person and a white person to marry in 17 states, including Cheryl's home state of Maryland. In 1967, the U.S. Supreme Court's unanimous decision in Loving versus Virginia struck down the anti-miscegenation laws still in place in over 1/3 of our United States. I believe that ultimately the U.S. Supreme Court will strike down anti-gay marriage laws in a similar manner. Until that 1967 decision, the supporters of laws banning interracial marriage used most of the same arguments we are hearing today in this debate: sanctity, biology, morality, the Bible, procreation, natural law, family, and children. At that time, there were many who were deeply offended based on their religious views, or even disgusted by the thought of interracial marriage. In defending Virginia's law, the Virginia trial court judge argued that Almighty God created the races white, black, yellow, and red, and he did not intend for the races to mix. This is remarkably similar to many of the arguments I have heard in defense of maintaining the ban on gay marriage. Nevertheless, many religious leaders speaking at the hearing on LD 1020 demonstrated that different religions and denominations will continue to do what they have done for centuries: disagree on what the Bible and other religious texts say about sin and moral behavior. That is the freedom of religion I would like to protect. The 1967 Supreme Court debate is an important lesson from our history that is directly applicable to this debate. Fortunately, we have come a long way in a generation or two. I, for one, cannot imagine being prohibited by law from marrying the woman I love. I can't imagine having to travel to a faraway state to celebrate vows with family and friends. And my children cannot imagine a world where they would be prohibited from dating or marrying anyone they choose, guided by their heart and their faith. They have grown up to demand and expect equal protection under the law. And they have grown up to understand that every religion is free to interpret its holy book to define marriage and to define sin in any way they choose. No single religious belief or viewpoint should be imposed by the majority onto the minority in our civil laws. I've heard it argued that this debate is about protecting the word marriage and the institution of marriage. Well, Madam Speaker and good colleagues, this is the same argument that was used in defending laws banning interracial marriage. And further, I don't believe it would be wise for us to try to freeze the meaning of a word for all time. Let me offer another sacred phrase from our history: all men are created equal. At the time that phrase was written, men literally meant men only. More specifically, white men, not black men, not Native Americans, not women. Fortunately, over time, we have broadened our understanding of that phrase to mean all people are created equal. In our system of government, words and laws must be interpreted and redefined as society changes from generation to generation. That is, in fact, the proper work of this legislature as well as the courts. In 1883, the Maine legislature repealed Maine's own ban on interracial marriage. Our predecessors in this chamber did not wait for the Supreme Court of Maine, did not wait for the Supreme Court of the United States to strike down that discriminatory law. Unfortunately, other legislatures in other states did not have the clarity of thinking, the notion of fairness, nor the courage to act in a similar manner. Madam Speaker, I believe that by supporting this bill, we will be voting today on the right side of history, as did the Maine legislature in 1883, to repeal a discriminatory law that deprives homosexual couples the rights and privileges of marriage that were previously and similarly denied interracial couples. I believe the arguments are essentially the same, and therefore the outcome must be the same. I hope my colleagues and other citizens of this state will see this issue as I do from this historical perspective and join me in supporting LD 1020. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chair